There is a specific moment, usually quiet, usually terrifying, when a human being decides to change. It's not loud. It's not a movie scene with swelling music. It happens when you look in the mirror, or at a photograph, or at a doctor's report, and you realize with absolute clarity, I cannot be this person for one more second. We love comeback stories. We love the before and after photos, but we rarely talk about the middle. We rarely talk about the grit, the humiliation, and the sheer mechanical effort required to tear down a life and build a new one from scratch. Today, we are deep diving into the anatomy of transformation, from addiction to freedom, from corporate burnout to creative purpose. These aren't just stories about losing weight or finding a job. These are stories about the human capacity to survive its own worst habits and come out the other side stronger. Let's start with the catalyst, the spark, for Lisa Kaler. It was a single photograph. It was Christmas Eve. The shutter clicked, freezing a moment in time. When she saw the developed image later, she didn't see herself. She saw a stranger. She saw someone lost, 50 pounds overweight, trapped in a failing marriage, and drowning in depression. That square of glossy paper was a mirror she couldn't look away from. It was rock bottom. But here's the paradox of transformation. Rock bottom is the firmest foundation you can build on. Sometimes the catalyst isn't a picture. It's a deadline. Imagine sitting in a sterile doctor's office, the paper crunching underneath you, and hearing the words, "You have 1 year to live." That was the reality for one man. A childhood accident had left him damaged, and years of neglect led to a bleeding ulcer and a grim prognosis. The doctor wasn't giving him advice, he was giving him an ultimatum. Change or die. The stakes don't get higher than that. And sometimes, the catalyst is pure, hot shame. Lisa Maresca was at Hershey Park, surrounded by the noise of happy crowds and roller coasters. She sat in the seat, pulled a harness down, and it wouldn't click. The attendant tried. It wouldn't close. She had to stand up, walk off the ride, and feel the eyes of the crowd on her. That walk of shame could have destroyed her. Instead, it fueled her. It became the raw material for a fire that would burn off 100 pounds. But once the spark is lit, the romantic part is over. Then comes the struggle. This is the part of the documentary where we usually get a 30-second montage set to upbeat music. But in real life, the struggle lasts for years. It is boring, it is painful, it is lonely. When Lisa Kaler started, her body rebelled. Every lunge was an argument with gravity. Every push-up was a reminder of how far she had let herself go. The pain was physical, visceral, and constant. For those changing careers later in life, the pain is psychological. Imagine being 37 years old, leaving a stable career in real estate, and starting over as a waiter just to survive while you learn a new trade. That's a massive blow to the ego. It requires a humility that most people just don't have. You have to be willing to be a beginner again. You have to be willing to be bad at something so that one day you can be great at it. Take Marcus. His battle wasn't with weight or a job, but with chemistry. Addiction had rewired his brain. For him, the struggle was a minute-by-minute cage match with his own biology. Recovery isn't a straight line. It's a jagged graph of relapses, shame spirals, and the exhausting effort of rebuilding trust with people who have every reason to doubt you. So how do they do it? How do you move from the catalyst to the reveal without quitting in the messy middle? They stop looking for magic, and they start looking for a process. Lisa Kaler didn't just exercise. She treated her body like a project. She started with the Power 90 program. When that became manageable, she didn't coast, she escalated. She moved to Turbo Jam. then to the brutal P90X, then to insanity. She systematized her suffering. She realized that consistency beats intensity every single time. Adrienne, who lost 90 pounds, hacked her own psychology. She knew that staring at the number 90 was paralyzing. It was too big of a mountain, so she stopped looking at the summit. She broke her journey down into 10-pound increments. She didn't try to lose 90 pounds. She tried to lose 10 pounds 9 separate times. It sounds like a semantic trick, but it changed everything. It made the impossible manageable. For the career switchers, like Guilherme Verardo and Adam Suver, the process was about translation. Guilherme sold cars. Adam was in law. On the surface, those have nothing to do with software engineering, but they realized that the soft skills, the grit of sales, the research ability of law were transferable assets. They didn't start from zero. They started from experience. They adopted the figure it out mindset. They sat in boot camps, feeling like imposters, and just kept typing code until the syntax started to make sense. And then, the payoff, the reveal. This is the moment the internal change finally becomes visible to the outside world. For Lisa, it wasn't just about fitting into a smaller dress. It was that the woman in the Christmas photo was gone. In her place stood a personal trainer, someone strong, capable, and vibrant. She had metabolized her pain and turned it into power. For the man given 1 year to live, he didn't just survive the year. 10 years later, he was still standing, over 100 pounds lighter. He had literally outran his own death sentence. He built a decade of life out of sheer discipline. For Stephanie, the reveal wasn't a number on a scale. It was running in the backyard. It was playing tag with her grandchildren without having to stop for breath. It was reclaiming her participation in her own family's life. But here is the most important part, the part nobody tells you. The transformation doesn't end when you hit the goal. The after photo is not the end credits. It is the beginning of a new reality. Almost every single person we studied didn't just change for themselves. They turned around and pulled the next person up. Lisa Kohler founded the Bella Fitness Group. She took the misery of her past and turned it into a mission to help other women. Marcus uses his history of addiction to mentor others who are still in the dark. Rubina Malik left the corporate ladder to work in nonprofits, aligning her paycheck with her purpose. This is the universal truth of transformation. The pain you feel today is the fuel for the person you are going to become tomorrow. Your current situation, no matter how stuck, how sick, or how lost you feel, is not your final destination. It is just the starting line. These stories prove that humans are not static. We are fluid. We can break, yes, but we can also rebuild harder and stronger than we were before. If you are waiting for a sign, this is it. The catalyst is right now. If these stories spark something in you, or if you are in the middle of your own messy transformation, I want to hear about it. Drop your story in the comments. Let's prove that change is possible, one story at a time.